Mississippi, the poorest state in the U.S. and home to the largest population of Black Americans, bearing the brunt of the pandemic.
The last thing she said to me was, "I love you and stay strong."
Families torn apart by the virus, now calling out a healthcare system they say is working against them.
Had she been anything but Black or brown, I think she would have gotten the care that she needed.
Plus, a champion for the voiceless, Reverend Dr. William Barber, fighting for justice.
I question our leadership. If we can't get it right now, when are we going to get it right?
This is a special edition of Nightline, Pandemic, a Nation Divided.
As a parent, we always feel that we'll go before our children.
For Cassandra Rollins, the grief is still raw. It feels like an open wound.
It's a deep hurt that's actually painful. This hurt has actually got physical. It's unexplainable.
Chaos and all this stuff going on.
Last month, her daughter, Shalondra Rollins, a mother of two, smiling and joking just days before she died.
It's like it's torture in this house, but we still blessed.
Taken by COVID-19, the first to die in Hinds County, Mississippi. Cassandra now grieving a child in a system she says treats you differently if you're Black.
Mississippi has come a long way, but Mississippi has a long way to go. The healthcare system is failing us. When you're poor, healthcare is not as good for you.
Mississippi, its majestic magnolia trees, lazy rivers, fog-capped hills. But buried in this rich and dark soil, the bitter fruit of slavery and segregation, harvested generation after generation here. A steady diet of despair, not impossible, but difficult to break.
Growing up in Mississippi, Black and brown, it means the least, not the best, the least, the leftovers, the crumbs that no one else wants.
Here, the pandemic is exploiting an already toxic mix: deeply ingrained racism, institutional poverty, and a historic lack of access to health care, all hitting the Black and brown communities that comprise Mississippi's essential workforce. And the COVID-19 disparities show it. Mississippi has the largest Black population in the nation. African Americans make up more than a third of the population, but account for more than half of the state's deaths. For every life taken by COVID-19, it's a family, a community, broken and forever changed.
Shalondra wasn't just my daughter, she was my friend.
Shalondra Rollins, as so many described her, was a light, a public school teacher beloved by her students and those who knew her best.
No matter how much she was going through it, she always made a way.
In late March, she and her daughter, Michaelin, both got sick and went to the doctor.
She was telling me about these headaches. She normally didn't have headaches. He gave her a Z-Pack for the flu. So never test her for COVID.
Let's prepare. Let's say our grace.
Shalondra also had diabetes, which can put people at a higher risk for COVID-19 complications. When her symptoms didn't get any better, Shalondra took her family to the hospital.
We had to almost fight for a test. We was constantly saying, well, we've been exposed, but they still wasn't, so I just had to tell them that I was diabetic.
Home to nearly 3 million people, Mississippi is the poorest state in the Union. Studies show Blacks get inferior health care and suffer negative stereotyping by providers. In nearly every health category, Mississippi consistently ranks dead last or close to it. Shalondra's results came back positive. 2 days later, Michaelin heard her mother fall out of the shower. She grabbed her inhaler to help her mom breathe.
I just give it to her and she immediately calmed down. I tried to do my best to keep her here.
When the ambulance arrived, Shalondra was still responsive, but within an hour, her heart stopped.
This is what really, truly hurts me and gets me. She left home. I would give it no more than 30 minutes. They tell us she's gone.
The last thing she said to me was, "I love you and stay strong."
Because of the restrictions, they could not have a proper funeral, just a service by the graveside. Still reeling from the death of her son last year, Cassandra says this almost broke her.
At least with my son, my family could fly in and be by my side. This time, me and my daughter Sherry had to do all this on our own and grieving 2 people.
Shalondra's death really hit home for the mayor of Jackson, Chokwe Antar Lumumba. The two were childhood classmates.
This has taken away real people and real lives.
During this pandemic, the 37-year-old Democrat has been in a month-long tug-of-war with Republican Governor Tate Reeves. Reeves has already started to reopen the state.
Mississippi is a predominantly white state, where Jackson is a predominantly black city. You've made one calculation, and the governor has made a different calculation. There seems to be an element of race in that to me.
Well, now I won't speak to the values or the personal beliefs of the governor and whether he doesn't care about black and brown communities. But I can say that black and brown communities are most adversely affected.
We have a public health crisis in this state and in this country, while at the same time we have an economic crisis. And one of the things that we've been trying to do to protect our African American population is we've worked very hard to get as much information, as much education out.
With the pandemic killing so many people of color, Mayor Lumumba now sees equal access to health care as his generation's most important battle.
People can't afford to be sick. And so they're confronted with, dinner table discussions about how they put food on the table or how they pay for the much needed medical attention that they so urgently desire.
That's especially true for workers in one of the nation's most crucial industries, the president ordering the nation's meat processing plants to stay open. Here in Mississippi, chicken is king. The poultry industry generates more than $2.5 billion each year. It directly employs more than 25,000 people, many who can't perform their jobs from home, and therefore at greater risk for catching the disease. Workers like 50-year-old Clara Kincaid.
It seems like she was beloved by her family.
Oh, yes, absolutely. She's like the backbone of our family.
Kincaid's sister-in-law, Francine Jefferson, says Clara had worked at the Pico plant down in the small town of Canton, Mississippi, for more than 20 years. Jefferson says that the mother of 4 and grandmother of 6 started getting sick in early April, before the plant had any PPE for its employees.
She was so sick. She was like coughing like crazy, couldn't hardly get her breath.
We've talked to 10 employees at poultry plants in Mississippi, and they all say they're afraid to talk out of fear of retaliation. Did she ever express that kind of concern?
Yes. The retaliation would have been a fear of losing your job or losing your position. And not to be funny about this, but black and brown people, we just don't have a lot of choices. People have to do what they have to do. She's a single mom. She's got 4 boys to take care of.
By the time Clara went to get tested, she had to drive to another county, 40 miles away. Afterwards, her family says she was sent back home. 2 days later, Clara Kincaid died. Her official cause of death, acute respiratory arrest and COVID-19.
All of them are considered essential workers, right? To feed America's families. Now her family is without their mother.
What does it mean to be black in Mississippi in the midst of COVID-19?
I'll tell you this, had she been, anything but black or brown, I think she would have gotten the care that she needed. They would not have sent her home to die. And she deserved better. She really deserved better.
They get up every morning, going to work, knowing that COVID-19 is in the facility. They are heroes. You hear me?
Randy Hadley represents a union that advocates for poultry workers. Clara wasn't one of his members, but he speaks for 3,000 plant employees in Mississippi.
Poultry workers in Mississippi don't show up from work. There will be no poultry on the shelves of our retail stores.
According to the union, there have been more than 4,500 COVID-19 cases in Mississippi, and plants there have to periodically close for deep cleanings.
You'll have as many as 600 to 700 people, and they work on an assembly line. There is no way that they can run a poultry operation and people stand 6 foot apart. There's just absolutely no way.
He says government safety guidelines aren't enough. Workers need testing done weekly. Pico Foods tells ABC News they were unaware Clara Kincaid's death was related to COVID-19, adding at the time of her death, there have been no confirmed COVID-19 cases at the plant. According to the company, they now provide PPE and have adopted the latest government recommendations, including temperature checks. Pico also says they provide paid time off for employees affected by COVID-19. Despite the risks, in these small towns, these are often the best jobs available. One worker asked us not to use his name or show his face, part of an often invisible immigrant workforce. He says he worked at the Pico plant in Sebastopol.
Está corriendo el pollo a 42 pollos al minuto. La línea es como una cadena, casi no hay distancia.
Last August, he was arrested in a sweeping ICE raid, considered the largest statewide crackdown in recent history.
It was a sweeping operation involving hundreds of agents fanning out over 6 cities in Mississippi.
Entonces ya ese mismo momento yo pensé por mis hijos y mi esposa, pues me puse a llorar.
Pico Foods uses the government program E-Verify and says it did not know at the time its workers were undocumented. This worker was taken to Wynn Correctional Facility in Louisiana, where he stayed for 9 months. He says that in his holding area there were up to 44 people.
Fuimos enterando de que ya hay ese coronavirus, entonces ahorita pues ya hay más preocupación a los más compañeros que se quedaron.
ICE confirms there have been 62 cases at Wynn and says that now all ICE detainees are issued cloth masks, a policy that did not begin until mid-April. As for this worker, his case is ongoing. He recalls his last birthday spent in detention.
Se me entraba esa mente de que hasta da ganas de uno de ahorcarse, pero yo por mis hijos me tuve que aguantar y me la pasaba pues triste llorando ese día. Esa fecha fue inolvidable.
The day we spoke with Cassandra Rollins, it was also her birthday.
This birthday not easy at all.
She's raising her 2 grandchildren now. In their eyes, she sees her beloved Shalondra.
If it wasn't for the kids, I'd probably say take me home. I'm just being honest. The grandkids, that gives me hope. That gives me a lot of hope.
Hope has had a hard life in many parts of Mississippi. The word suggests better days ahead. Here, deep in the Delta, for so many, that day has yet to appear.
I blame America and the healthcare system. That's who I blame. Because I feel like it could have been prevented. She had a bright future.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.